WWE spandex-clad warriors are no mere wrestlers. Oh no, the toys in Vince McMahon's toy box are WWE superstars, damn it! That said, if we're being honest, and there's a first time for everything, it takes more than simple branding to make someone a proper star. In fact, it often takes a particular match to get the so-called WWE universe to sit up and accept a superstar as what they're being sold as. Sometimes it's manufactured, other times it's unexpected, but it's always a serious boost to the beneficiary. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 star-making WWE matches. Join us. Number 10, the 1994 Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble match is as good an opportunity as any to make a star, either by booking someone to win the thing and punch their ticket to WrestleMania, or simply by having them look the most dominant in a field of 30. While Bret Hart and Lex Luger may have shared the spoils in the 1994 iteration of the bout, it was Diesel who everyone was talking about after. Big Daddy Cool, who had been on the WWE roster for about 7 months by this point, had spent most of his time acting as the bodyguard of Shawn Michaels when he entered the fray at number 7 and eliminated 7 other entrants during the near 18 minutes he was in the mix before he himself was dumped out by a group of wrestlers. Even though he was a heel at the time, Diesel's performance was cheered on by those inside the Providence Civic Center, and can you blame them? Showing he was capable of being much more than a menacing enforcer in a leather jacket, Kevin Nash's 94 Rumble showing set the wheels in motion for a breakout year that ended with him as WWE Champ. Number 9, The Rock vs. Triple H at SummerSlam 1998. The Rock and Triple H had one of the definitive rivalries of the Attitude Era, with their series of matches over the WWE title in 1999 and 2000 celebrated as some of the best from either man's career. Awesome as those matches were, it was actually at SummerSlam 1998, while competing for the Intercontinental title, that both the Great One and the Game singled themselves out as future main eventers. Clashing in just the 3rd televised ladder match in company history, Rock and Hunter went hell for leather in front of a feverish Madison Square Garden crowd. It was obvious the company had big plans for both men since they were already heading up their own stables, but the DX and Nation of Domination leaders took things to another level on this night. After 25 minutes of bruising action, it was Helmsley that walked away the victor. Though the Cerebral Assassin had his hand raised at the end, it would in fact be the People's Champion who would become WWE Champion first when he won the title at Survivor Series. Number 8, the Hardys vs. Edge and Christian at No Mercy 1999. 14 months after Rocky and Trips wowed the world's most famous arena, it was the turn of 4 young upstarts to put it all on the line in a ladder match. The deciding match in the Terry Invitational Tournament, that's TIT because, well, you know. The Hardys and Edge and Christian weren't fighting for the tag titles, but rather the managerial services of Miss Runnels and a supposed $100,000 purse. In reality, they were fighting to put themselves on the map, something they did with an awe-inspiring aerial display that set the bar for all ladder matches that came in its wake. Seizing the chance to show the world what they could do on pay-per-view, the foursome collectively took tremendous risks by executing some novel and extremely dangerous spots. Jeff Hardy, in particular, was flinging himself about like a man who thought it might be his last time in a wrestling ring. Receiving a deserved standing ovation both in the arena and then once again when they got backstage, Mick Foley got it bang on when he told the two teams they had just went from WWE wrestlers to WWE superstars. Number 7, Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle vs. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon at WrestleMania 34. Let's not beat around the bush here. Ronda Rousey was already a star when she sauntered out after the inaugural Women's Royal Rumble match and awkwardly pointed at the WrestleMania sign. Crucially, however, the baddest woman on the planet was a star in the world of mixed martial arts thanks to her exploits in the UFC, not necessarily in pro wrestling. Lots of WWE fans certainly knew of her, yes, but Rowdy Ronda hadn't really done diddly in a WWE ring. They would get their first proper glimpse when Rousey had her debut match at WrestleMania 34. Thrown right in at the deep end, Ronda was in good company as she teamed with Kurt Angle to take on Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Sharing the ring with such experienced pros, Rousey was allowed to shine brightest in a match that was produced to accentuate her positives. She more than held up on her end of the bargain, of course, stealing the show on the grandest stage of them all and kicking off her record-setting WWE career in style. Credit must go to Angle, Hunter, and Steph for doing everything they could to make her seem like a huge deal right from the get-go. Number 6, Steve Austin vs. Bret Hart at Survivor Series 1996. In WWE's skewed version of history, Steve Austin won the 1996 King of the Ring tournament, cut his famous Austin 316 promo, and then rode an unstoppable lightning bolt straight to WrestleMania 14, where he won his first WWE title and transformed the wrestling business as we know it. The reality was a little different, as Stone Cold may have been over with the audience, but the crowd response didn't exactly launch him up the card right away. In fact, Austin didn't even make it onto the main card at SummerSlam. He would, however, make the grade for Survivor Series, where he battled Bret Hart in the Hitman's televised return bout almost 8 months after he dropped the world title to Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12. Going toe-to-toe with the excellence of execution, the Texas Rattlesnake had his best performance in a WWE ring to that point. For the almost 30-minute duration of the utterly gripping contest, Austin walked the walk, backing up all his talk leading into the pay-per-view. He did the honors for Bret that night, yes, but Stone Cold showed everyone he had main event potential in the process and came out smelling like roses. And sweat and probably beer too. Number 5, Randy Orton vs. Mick Foley at Backlash 2004. It was evident from early on that Randy Orton, the young, good-looking third-generation prospect molded in Ohio Valley Wrestling, had a ton of upside. It didn't take him an age to find his feet on the main roster either. As a member of the all-conquering Evolution, he developed his Legend Killer gimmick by targeting some of the industry's all-time greats and duly won the Intercontinental title. Any fans who were unconvinced that Randy was the future of the business had their minds well and truly made up for them when Randy Orton defended his title against Mick Cactus Jack Foley in a hardcore grudge match at Backlash 2004. A return to form for the hardcore legend, the ultra-violent war served as Randy's coming out party as he demonstrated he wasn't just a pretty face and chiseled set of abs. No, on the contrary, he had guts and grit and seemingly no issues being thrown off the stage or planted into a bed of thumbtacks. It was a match and performance that helped turn Orton babyface and convinced WWE to put the big belt on him just a few months later at SummerSlam. Number 4, Shelton Benjamin vs. Triple H on Raw. Just weeks before the Legend Killer had the match that started his journey to becoming a legend in his own right, Shelton Benjamin got one over on Randy's mentor and Evolution leader, Triple H. Primarily a tag team wrestler since making his debut alongside Charlie Haas at the very end of 2002, Shelton had shown flashes of brilliance as a member of Team Angle / the world's greatest tag team. Pretty much untested at a high singles level, Benjamin had to swim or sink when he was booked opposite Triple H 1 week after being traded from SmackDown to Raw in the WWE draft. Keeping up with the King of Kings for 20 minutes, Shelton looked like Hunter's equal as the more experienced worker did what he could do to make fans believe the amateur standout had a chance of pulling off a major upset. And that is exactly what Benjamin did, in a relatively clean way it must be said too, profiting from a distraction to hit a stinger splash and roll Helmsley up for the win. For his first night on the flagship show, Shelton really couldn't have asked for much more to kick off a banner year for the gold standard. Number 3, Brock Lesnar vs. The Rock at SummerSlam 2002. In the history of WWE, I struggle to think of a headliner as selfless as The Rock. Doing his absolute best to use his own star power to get others over, the Brahma Bull was unafraid to do the job and lose the right way in order to benefit someone else. Just ask Brock Lesnar, who beat the most electrifying man in sports entertainment to win his first WWE title at SummerSlam 2002. The next big thing had been on a tear since arriving on the main roster the day after WrestleMania 18, his freakish athleticism and raw power setting him apart from his contemporaries. He'd looked good in matches with the likes of Rob Van Dam and was put over Hulk Hogan strong, but he hadn't had the match until he went one-on-one with the Great One. Looking every bit like he belonged at the very highest level, Brock came across like a killer and pinned the champ clean to send him off to Hollywood and cement himself as the new man to beat. He'd only been on TV for about 5 months, but fans immediately bought him in the role thanks in no small part to the efforts of Dwayne. Number 2, Rob Van Dam vs Jeff Hardy at Invasion. One of the biggest stars in ECW, Rob Van Dam was routinely in one of the best matches of the night, if not the best one, particularly when it came to the company's order-only events, earning himself the nickname Mr. Pay-Per-View. Living up to that moniker in his first major WWE match at Invasion, the Alliance member put on a display that summed up why he was considered the jewel in the crown of Paul Heyman's former promotion. Smartly matched up with a like-minded dance partner in the devil-may-care Jeff Hardy, RVD proceeded to steal the whole flippin' show in his pursuit of the hardcore title. Never one to lack confidence, Van Dam appeared to relish having such a bright spotlight shining on him and duly pulled out all manner of flips, kicks, and other extreme tricks. Decked out in one of his one-of-a-kind singlets, RVD had the self-assured swagger of someone who knew his talent and had no doubt WWE fans would react to him in just his second televised WWE match. On the back of this performance, it's no surprise the de facto jeers quickly turned into cheers for RVD. Number 1, The Shield vs Team Hell No and Ryback at TLC 2012. Promising NXT grafters Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns made quite the statement with their main roster debut. Interrupting the 2012 Survivor Series main event, the group soon to be known as The Shield helped CM Punk retain his WWE title in a triple threat with Ryback and John Cena. After the Hounds of Justice subsequently got into it with Team Hell No, a 6-man tag was booked for TLC 2012. With tables, ladders, and chairs, oh my, to play with, not to mention a not insubstantial 23 minutes, Rollins, Reigns, and Ambrose seized the moment and put on an unadulterated banger with the big guy, the big red machine, and the big American dragon. Once again, it takes 2 to tango out there, or 6 in this case, and props must be given to the babyface trio for being so generous and geared up for the carnage. However, the onus was really on Roman, Seth, and Dean to stake their claim in their very first outing, and they did so with aplomb. You seriously felt like you were watching the future of the business before your very eyes, and when it was all over, you had no choice but to believe in the Shield.